संस्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः. So welcome to these group of classes on the direct disciples of Sri Ramakrishna. At the outset, I would like to say that when we started these classes, I mentioned that I was trying to focus on the spiritual relationship that the direct disciple had with Sri Ramakrishna. This has not been very easy to do because it is something that is internal and it is not expressed in these biographies. So as a result, I have not been able to do that. So what I'm trying to do now is that I'm trying to focus on the spiritual aspects of the relationship and the relationship that these disciples had with others. So today we will talk about Swami Ramakrishna, who was known as Sashibhushan Chakravarti in his pre-monastic days. Last week we reviewed the life of Swami Akhandananda, who was originally very traditional but later accepted the ideal of serving God in human beings as popularized by Swami Vivekananda in his letters. This is the ideal of the global Ramakrishna order. Today, in recounting the life of Swami Ramakrishnananda, we have a traditional sannyasin who embodied the ideal of serving his guru with puja, studies, and other orthodox rituals. In fact, when the sannyasa names were given by Swami Vivekananda to some of his monastic brothers in January 1887, Swami Vivekananda wanted to take the name Ramakrishnananda, but eventually he gave that name to Sashi because of his one-pointed dedication to the worship of Sri Ramakrishna. Early life of Swami Ramakrishnananda or Sashibhushan Chakravarti. Sashibhushan Chakravarti was born on 13 July 1863 in a village called Ichapur in West Bengal, India. Sashi's father's name was Ishwar Chandra Chakravarti. He was a court pandit of Raja Indra Narayan Singh of Paikpara, North Calcutta. Ishwar Chandra was well versed in the tantric scriptures and practiced tantric disciplines in cremation grounds, a little bit like Swami Shivananda's father. So this was Ishwar Chandra or Sashibhushan's father. In the West, tantric disciplines are not known in their holistic way as the way they are known in India. Only the left-handed, narrow and degenerate practices are known in the West. Arguably, Sri Ramakrishna tried to restore the efficacy of tantric disciplines by considering all women as his mother, and there have been others who have practiced it. Getting back to Ishwar Chandra, Sashi's father, he used to worship the deities in his shrine daily and would also perform the elaborate Kali Puja once a year. It is said that once he had the divine vision of the Divine Mother as a little girl. Sashi's mother was, or Ishwar Chandra's wife, was known as Bhavasundari Devi. She, like her husband, was very devout. It was in such a orthodox environment that Sashi and 7 other siblings were raised. Sashi learnt puja or ritualistic worship from his father. Sashi used to also perform the elaborate Durga Puja, which is a great festival in Bengal, now West Bengal, India, and Bangladesh. His academic education was initially in a village school. He pursued his studies in Calcutta, where he resided in the house of Sharath, or Swami Saradananda, who was his contemporary and his cousin. In Calcutta, he passed the Calcutta University entrance examination, in which he won a scholarship. He did his first arts degree at Albert College and entered the Metropolitan College for his Bachelor of Arts. The subjects that Sashi took were Sanskrit, English literature, mathematics, and philosophy. It was during this period that Sashi and his cousin Sharad got involved with the Brahma Samaj and came under the influence of Keshab Chandra Sen. Ironically, it was Keshab Chandra Sen who introduced his followers like Sashi to Sri Ramakrishna. Sashi, Sarath, and some of their friends first visited Sri Ramakrishna in October 1883. On the first meeting itself, Sri Ramakrishna felt that the spirit of renunciation was burning in Sashi and Sarath. Lessons on spiritual practice under Sri Ramakrishna, renunciation. Sri Ramakrishna fanned the embers of renunciation in the hearts of Sashi and Sharath at their first meeting. He said that one should enter into the world only after making some progress in spiritual life. Otherwise, the flame of spirituality in one's heart was likely to be extinguished abruptly. Sri Ramakrishna, in his way, talked highly of renunciation. Then one of the boys asked if it was wrong to marry and lead a family life. To this, Sri Ramakrishna took out a book which may have been the Bible and quoted Christ's words on renunciation. Christ says that there are some who make themselves eunuchs for the kingdom of heaven. Sri Ramakrishna is said to have also quoted St. Paul's idea on marriage, which puts the onus on the individual to decide for themselves if they are to marry or not. Sri Ramakrishna quoting Christ and St. Paul is significant because he had seen Sashi and Sarath as the followers of Christ in a vision before they came. Sri Ramakrishna often had these visions before the coming of devotees like Rakhal or Swami Brahmananda and Narain or Swami Vivekananda. Lessons on spiritual practice under Sri Ramakrishna, the personal God or ideal. Sri Ramakrishna used to ascertain the ideal or goal of his disciples before he instructed or initiated them into spiritual life. At one of their meetings, Sri Ramakrishna asked Sashi if he believed in God with form or without form. To those of you who have read the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna will know that Sri Ramakrishna asked this question to Master Mahashaya on one of his first visits. This may have been a common question that Sri Ramakrishna asked his prospective disciples because clarity in spiritual life requires one to have the correct conception of the goal and a similar clarity with respect to the path that one should follow. Basically, you have to have clarity with respect to the goal that you want to achieve, and you also need clarity about the path which you need to follow to reach that goal. When Sri Ramakrishna asked Sashi this question, Sashi replied as an agnostic, saying that he did not know if God existed or not. Sashi's straightforwardness impressed Sri Ramakrishna, and he asked him to visit him again alone. Related to this incident is another incident that occurred in the presence of Sri Ramakrishna. Sashi was rummaging through Sri Ramakrishna's room looking for something. Sri Ramakrishna saw this and said to Sashi, "Whom you are looking for is here, here, here." In response, Sashi's eyes fell on the form of Sri Ramakrishna. Swami Chaitanananda, after mentioning this incident, says that thereby he discovered that Sri Ramakrishna was the pole star of his life. What is a pole star? It means ideal or goal. I don't know if Sri Ramakrishna gave Sashi a mantra or not, or what his ishta or ideal was. But this incident suggests that Sri Ramakrishna was presenting himself as an ideal or object of worship for Sashi. This may help explain the devoted service that Sashi or Swami Ramakrishnananda rendered to Sri Ramakrishna, especially after he passed away. Another incident that Swami Chaitanananda presents in God Live With Them is of Sashi feeling envious of devotees who were experiencing ecstasy. He asked Sri Ramakrishna for some spiritual experience. Sri Ramakrishna replied to Sashi that if he had spiritual experiences, he would no longer be able to serve him. Sashi then and there committed himself to serving Sri Ramakrishna by saying that he did not care for spiritual experiences. This service, as we will see later, Sashi did not only in Calcutta or Kolkata, but also in Madras or Chennai, India. Lessons on spiritual practice under Sri Ramakrishna. Meditation. So far, I think I have talked about this in the lives of all the monastic disciples, and that is meditation. Sri Ramakrishna would wake up the young devotees at midnight or before dawn and encourage them to meditate. Sashi, in his reminiscences of Sri Ramakrishna, Originally published in Ramakrishna as we saw him by Swami Chaitanananda, also talks about Sri Ramakrishna waking up his young followers to pass the night in meditation. The young devotees were then of a malleable age, either in their teens or early 20s. In these reminiscences, Sashi also says that Sri Ramakrishna's room was mainly only busy on Sundays. On the other days, he was relatively free. On these other occasions, the future monastic disciples would gather. On these days, they would have much fun and laughter, with Sri Ramakrishna mimicking certain people or narrating funny stories. This goes to show that Sri Ramakrishna was not just a hard taskmaster who wanted his disciples to grow in their spiritual lives and the practice of meditation, but he also had fun with them. Excuse me, because some of them may have been high-strung. Lessons on spiritual practice under Sri Ramakrishna, not seeing the faults of others. Another important lesson for us from Sashi's reminiscences of Sri Ramakrishna is that Sri Ramakrishna never condemned others. Sri Ramakrishna was immediately able to recognize an individual's character to know if they were genuine spiritual aspirants or not. Even though he might have asked a person who was not genuine to leave or not accept their pranams, or not eat food or drink water touched by them, he never condemned. This is an important lesson for us who are quick to have grievances and to condemn others. Sri Ramakrishna not only refrained from criticizing and condemning others, but also other religions, communities, and cultures. Just like Swami Vivekananda, he was a great believer in religious and cultural pluralism, or the independent coexistence of different religions and cultures. This results in harmony between different cultures and religion rather than a single culture dominating the world. Nowadays, there has been a shift on the conservative side of politics to say that Western culture should be the only culture in Anglo-Saxon countries. But the policy that has been followed so far is multiculturalism, that is, the recognition of multiple cultures coexisting in the one space. So we have to be aware of this, that this trend is happening, and how Sri Ramakrishna and his direct disciples understood the importance of Sri Ramakrishna because he respected other religions and cultures. Lessons on spiritual practice under Sri Ramakrishna. Gradual renunciation for lay devotees. Sri Ramakrishna was able to gauge the latent spirituality in an individual and helped him or her to progress along the path of their choice. In the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, he says that a coconut branch, if yanked when still green or tender, leaves a mark on the trunk. But when the branch matures and dries and falls off on its own, it doesn't leave a mark. Similarly, his advice to householders or lay devotees was that nothing was wrong inherently. He wanted people to enjoy the world if they didn't have strong renunciation. There was nothing wrong in the pleasures of the world. By tasting these pleasures and offering these to God, the individual would ultimately know that they are useless, and their minds would revert to higher pleasures or related to God. Swami Ramakrishnananda, as a caregiver of Sri Ramakrishna during his lifetime. As you all know, Sri Ramakrishna was shifted to Shampur and Kasipur after he contracted throat cancer. It was at this time that the nucleus of the monastic order was slowly beginning to take shape. Sri Ramakrishna's would-be monastic disciples all took their turns to provide care or service to Sri Ramakrishna. Sashi was one of the foremost. Swami Chaitanananda says that Sashi was the very embodiment of service and was convinced that service to the Guru was the highest form of religion. He abandoned his preparations for his Bachelor of Arts degree, much to the disappointment of his parents, to serve and nurse Sri Ramakrishna. He also forgot his own comfort of food and rest to serve Sri Ramakrishna. Some of the examples of his service or caregiving are given below. Sashi knew that Sri Ramakrishna was fond of ice. During the summer, he once purchased a block of ice and carefully wrapped it with paper and a towel so that it would not melt. Then he walked about 10 kilometers from Calcutta to Dakshineshwar to deliver that to Sri Ramakrishna. The scorching sun of that hot summer day is said to have blistered his body. When Sri Ramakrishna saw Sashi, he withered in pain, identifying himself with his disciple. Sri Ramakrishna was overwhelmed by Sashi's love and care. Another example of this reciprocal love that existed between Sashi and Sri Ramakrishna occurred in winter when the master was in Kasipur. Once Sashi, on a cold winter's night, went outside to clean the toilet. He did this wearing a very thin cloth. When he returned to Sri Ramakrishna's room, he saw that Sri Ramakrishna was crawling across the room in order to get a shawl for him. Sashi thought that the master was reaching out for a shawl for himself. So he asked Sri Ramakrishna why he had not asked him for the shawl. To this, Sri Ramakrishna replied that he felt cold when Sashi had gone out without sufficiently covering himself. This is another example of Sashi's caregiving and reciprocal love of the teacher and disciple. Indeed, Sashi was so engrossed with serving Sri Ramakrishna that he would forget to eat, and he had to be reminded by Sri Ramakrishna. Sometimes Sashi would fan the master for a long time, that Sri Ramakrishna had to take the fan out of his hand and hand it over to someone else, like Latu. Continuing the worship of Sri Ramakrishna in Baranaga and Alambaza. After Sri Ramakrishna was cremated, there arose some difference of opinion if the ashes of Sri Ramakrishna should be enshrined in Ramchandra Datta's house in Kankurgachi or kept and worshipped every day. Sashi and Niranjan were of the opinion that the boy disciples of Sri Ramakrishna should keep the ashes with them. When this difference became heated, Sashi and Niranjan divided the ashes into two lots and retained the major portion, while the rest were given to Ramchandra Datta to be interned in Kankragachi, Calcutta. The major portion was retained by the youth and kept initially at Balaram Bose's house. The youth who had renounced the world started a monastery at Baranagar, which was financed by Surendranath Mitra, one of Sri Ramakrishna's household disciples. Baranagar was no mansion. It was a dilapidated old dwelling falling to pieces. Swami Ramakrishnananda was once bitten by a snake. At Baranagar, Swami Ramakrishnananda worshipped the ashes and photograph of Sri Ramakrishna very regularly. He was very punctual in carrying out this service of Sri Ramakrishna as though he was alive and well. This made the others feel the living presence of Sri Ramakrishna. But this service was not always smooth. The monastic disciples were in strained financial circumstances. There were times when they didn't have anything to offer Sri Ramakrishna and to eat. Ramakrishnananda would keep an eye on the situation and even go begging from door to door to feed the master and the other monastic disciples. For a while, he even worked at a school to support the monastery, which is against the monastic code. During the Baranagar days, many of the monastic disciples would go out on pilgrimage to the various places in India. Swami Ramakrishnananda was most dedicated to the worship of the Master's relics and caring for his brother disciples. Swami Ramakrishnananda's routine in Baranagar and Alambaza, 1886 to 1897. Swami Chetanananda gives a rough schedule or routine that Swami Ramakrishnananda used to follow at Baranagar and perhaps Alambaza from 1886 to 1887. This included getting up at around 4 a.m. Then he would awaken Sri Ramakrishna from sleep by imagining that he was a real person. Then he would offer a twig which was crushed on one side to use as a toothbrush. Before toothbrushes came to India, this was the way that people used to brush their teeth. Next, he would offer a sweet made from coconut and a glass of water. He would also prepare a smoke for Sri Ramakrishna. Afterwards, he would pick flowers, sweep the shrine floor, wash the worship vessels, and make the necessary arrangements for worship. He would then go to the market to purchase groceries and cook them. He would then go for his bath in the Ganges and bring Ganges water for the worship. Later, he would do another puja, which included offering food to Sri Ramakrishna. He would then distribute the food among the brother disciples. In the evening, he would conduct the Arathikam and offer the various items connected with the 5 elements to Sri Ramakrishna. He and the others would sing the song that was sung to Lord Vishwanath in Benares, which begins with Jaya Shiva Omkara, Bhaja Shiva Omkara. In his free time, he would read books like those of Mark Twain or Rishabhadeva from the Bhagavata and even solve mathematical problems. This is basically the schedule or routine for worship that Swami Ramakrishnananda followed according to Swami Chetanananda. Founding of the Madras or Chennai Mutt by Swami Ramakrishnananda. Swami Vivekananda returned to India from his first trip to the West in January 1897. He got a rousing reception in Sri Lanka and Madras. In response to this, Swami Vivekananda said to them that he will send them an orthodox monk who was not only a pujari but also well versed in the scriptures. He had Swami Ramakrishnananda in mind. About 2 months after this, in April 1897, Swami Ramakrishnananda arrived in Madras with Swami Sadananda, a disciple of Swami Vivekananda. These 2 monks were first accommodated in Flora Cottage, located on the same road as the ice house or Castle Kernan where Vivekananda had stayed. Swami Ramakrishnananda was later offered a floor at the Castle Kernan by Biligiri Iyengar, the owner. The monastery or mutt was there until November 1907, after which it moved to Broly's Road in the Mylapore quarter of Madras thanks to a donation from a devotee. Needless to say that Swami Ramakrishnananda faced many challenges in Madras, as he had done previously at Baranaga and Alambaza. But he kept the monastery at Madras afloat. Swami Ramakrishnananda also hosted the Holy Mother, Swami Brahmananda, Swami Abhedananda, and Swami Premananda when he visited South India. Spiritual teachings of Swami Ramakrishnananda. A. Sri Ramakrishna and harmony. Swami Ramakrishnananda explained the difference between Sri Ramakrishna and other prophets. He said that Sri Ramakrishna taught the harmony of religions. Christ, Muhammad, and others preached that the only way to redemption was through them. But Sri Ramakrishna did not preach a new religion or say that was the only way was through him. In addition, he practiced all the religions and experienced the truths claimed by them. This is contained in the idea, as many faiths, so many paths. B. Renunciation as the basis to spiritual and monastic life. He said that when one practices renunciation, he or she gives up the uncertain for the certain, the passing for the permanent. All power comes from renunciation. In addition, once the individual finds out that the pleasures of the flesh are nothing compared with that of the spirit, he or she will voluntarily give up the law for the higher. C. Unselfishness. Both Swami Vivekananda in the complete works of Swami Vivekananda and Swami Ramakrishnananda advocated the efficacy of unselfishness. Swami Chetanananda quotes Swami Ramakrishnananda, which I will paraphrase. As long as there is selfishness, one's endeavors in spiritual life will be fruitless. We may be successful externally, like having the ability to deliver good lectures, acquire fame, but we may not acquire anything in our spiritual lives. The very moment our little self disappears, then our spiritual life begins. Our life may be externally uneventful, but we will accomplish much. When we drop the ego, we live in God. It is Maya in us that makes us so selfish. He demarcates between selfishness with a small s and a large S for selflessness. Selfishness with a small s is doing anything and everything for the body-mind complex. But doing things for the self, that is with a large S, is for your spiritual benefit. The person who dwells on the large S dwells on God. Trying to feel the presence of God inside oneself gets rid of selfishness with a small s. D. Swami Ramakrishnananda's definition of religion. According to Sister Devamata or Laura Glenn, as quoted by Swami Chetanananda, Swami Ramakrishnananda defined religion as the struggle of the spirit against matter. Let me repeat, that is the struggle of the spirit against matter, and whatever helps in this struggle is a welcome path. This is really the definition of spirituality, not religion. What is matter? That which is conceived by the senses and mind and in the province of science. That which lies beyond is the spirit, which cannot be conceived by the senses or within the province of science. Ramakrishnananda then goes to demarcate between science and spirituality. Science is the struggle of the individual in the outer world. Spirituality is the struggle in the inner world. Spirituality or religion is set to begin where science ends. E. Swami Ramakrishnananda on meditation. Meditation means complete self-abandonment. Meditation requires complete annihilation of self-consciousness. You know that before a great light, smaller or lesser lights disappear. So before the effulgent glory of God, the little glory of the ego will completely vanish, as stars vanish when the sun rises. You must therefore practice the presence of God inside you. You may say, I cannot see him with these eyes of mine. I cannot hear him with these ears of mine. How then am I to perceive him? You can never perceive him in this way. To go to the Creator, you must throw aside these instruments which take you directly to the creation. You must also go beyond mind and the senses, and meditation will come of itself. This is the only way to get inner vision. These senses are made for creation, not for the Creator. Swami Ramakrishnananda's last days. Swami Ramakrishnananda's health began to deteriorate from April 1911 with diabetes and tuberculosis. For a change of air, he left for the Bangalore Center, which is another center for which he did the groundwork while he was in Madras. This moving to Bangalore did not help. Swamis Brahmananda and Saradananda asked him to return to Calcutta, which he reached in June 1911. In Calcutta, he was accommodated at the Udbodhan, or mother's house, where Sarada Devi usually stayed while she was in the city. In Calcutta, his condition deteriorated. As health complications became worse, he lost his appetite. He also started coughing out blood. a few days before he passed away, he had the vision of Sri Ramakrishna, Holy Mother, and Swami Vivekananda. He saw that they had come to him, and he asked his attendants to offer them some asanas, which are prayer carpets, and some cushions or bolsters. The attendants were dumbfounded because they could not see anything. Swami Ramakrishnananda left his body on Monday, 21 August 1911. So with this we conclude the life of Swami Ramakrishnananda. As you can probably understand, each disciple had some unique characteristics. And as I mentioned at the start, we saw last week with Swami Akhandananda how he was very traditional initially, but then he followed Swami Vivekananda's instructions to see God in individuals, in people. But Swami Ramakrishnananda was like a traditional pujari, but still maintained that what he was doing was his way of expressing himself. So with these words, we close. Thank you. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Sri